Nelson playing Grixis Death Shadow against Jacob Haverset playing Amulet Titan. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brad Nelson, Jacob Haverset watching the Ben Friedman Reed Duke match here in the corner.
Yeah, they're really birding what's going on next to them.
Here in the semifinals from Baltimore. Cedric Phillips and Craig Krempels. We are here in the booth. Nick Miller is down in the feature match area, as you can see, doing a write-up here of our semifinal match. These players will be given the green light here in just a moment. It's Jacob Haverset on your left with Amulet Titan, Brad Nelson on your right with Grixis Death Shadow. And we are underway in our semifinals as it's a Sakura Tribe Scout to start things off here for number 4 overall seed, Jacob Haverset. We go to Nelson, who's got a polluted Delta. He's going to sacrifice that powerful fetch land, going to fall down to at least 19, probably 17.
17 for sure.
Yeah, given the archetype, there's a Watery Grave as he goes down to 17.
And I think Brett's happy to see a turn 1 Sakura Tribe Scout here. It gives him something to do with his removal spells.
Fatal Push, Lightning Bolt, and that is a Fatal Push. We're going to head over to Jacob. We'll see what Jacob's second turn of the game does yield.
You know, it's the start from Jacob that's like Amulet into Explore and kind of grow his mana that way. That is hard for Brad to interact with, to deal with.
Yeah, and it's the start that we haven't seen from yet. Now, we finally do have an Amulet here from Jacob. First one that we have seen from him since we've seen him on camera. Amulet of Vigor, very, very powerful. Whenever a permanent enters the battlefield, tapped and under your control, untap it. Nelson. Going to cast a Thoughtseize. Looks like we're going to find multiple copies of Summoner's Pact and a Primeval Titan here for Jacob Haverset. So his hand not very good.
Yeah, this hand's light on mana. Yeah, that's understatement.
You can call it what it is. Not a great hand. Looks like Jacob may have been on 5 cards this game. And Brad's just going to pass.
No second land for Brad.
There's a forest. Pass the turn back. Nelson will draw. Looks like he picked up a land. It's a Bloodstained Mire. Brad is just going to pass. We're going to go over to Jacob. Jacob will draw. And just pass the turn back. These players working with not a lot of resources, struggling along here in the semifinals.
Yeah, they're not giving us a lot to work with either.
It's an Inquisition of Kozilek. That'll show you 2 Summoner's Packs and an Engineered Explosives. Summoner's Pack down here. Nelson was going to pass. Let's go over to Jacob Haverset. He found a land. It's a Colony Garden. That'll untap and bring along an 0-1 plant with it.
Engineered Explosives.
Powerful card.
Hard to take down a Gurmag Angler with an Engineered Explosives.
One would argue impossible. One could argue that. We'll go over to Brad. See what he draws. I think it may have been a Gurmag Angler, actually. Speak of the devil, and it shall appear.
The Devilfish.
It is a scary Devilfish. That's a Blood Crypt. Nelson down to 10. There is the big fish. Entire graveyard's gone here for Nelson. But now he does have a creature. Start putting on a clock. What do we have here? Sakura Tribe Scout. No, excuse me, Ancient Stirring, so take it all back. Much better than Sakura Tribe Scout. Any bounce lands here for Jacob? I did see a copy of Simic Growth Chamber.
Jacob just really wants a crew here. He really wanted to just naturally draw that one.
Yeah, so he could Summoner's Pact, get Titan, actually start doing the things his deck does.
Yep, play the Titan. The lands that the Titan gets would untap because of the Amulet of Vigor. go on from there.
So even though he's struggling along, Haverset has some big draws available. Ancient Stirrings may have been one of them. Not the perfect one, but still pretty good. As Nelson waits somewhat patiently to get his turn back. Simic your growth chamber. That's the selection from Ancient Stirrings. Haverset will pass the turn back over to Nelson. Nelson's going to cycle a Street Wraith. He's down to 8. He'll draw a card. Picked up a copy of Scalding Tarn. He'll play the Tarn. Lightning Bolt's going to go after the plant token. Now here's an attack for 5. Wants to clear the way and make it so that he can get this game over with as fast as possible. Haverset will untap and draw. We know he's got Engineer Explosives, which isn't doing much. Simic Growth Chamber, he took off the Ancient Stirrings. Summoner's Pact, he's had for some time. He'll try to resolve Summoner's Pact.
I don't like his chances.
Stubborn Denial says absolutely not. So what's next for Jacob? Because he's losing Titans now. He's already lost one Titan from, I believe, a Thoughtseize earlier.
Yep.
Now there's Simic Growth Chamber. Going to return Teleria West. And now he's going to float, transmute, and I think go get another Summoner's Pact here. That's what he'll do. Now he can't play Titan this turn. And we'll see if he's able to do it next turn, as Nelson looks like he's going to sacrifice Scalding Tarn and fall down to at least 7, maybe 5.
And the question now is, does Brad have Snapcaster Mage?
Mm-hmm.
Does he have another Stubborn Denial?
Mm-hmm. This is one of those games where Stubborn Denial looks good. We've seen some other instances, like Ryan Host against Reed Duke, where Stubborn Denial was unplayable.
Yep.
Just didn't do much of anything. Over to Nelson we go. He'll draw. In for 5 more. Haverset's going to fall down to 10. Nelson is just going to pass that turn back over to Jacob. Jacob will draw, picked up a copy of Slayer's Stronghold. There's Summoner's Pacts. Nelson does have Snapcaster Mage. Stubborn Denial is going to counter that. Now it makes you wonder what the follow-up is here for Jacob Haverset. He's having some trouble getting anything going.
Yeah, we know he still has that Engineered Explosives.
Yeah, that could take care of Snapcaster Mage.
Looks like an Azusa.
Yep.
But he really needs to get a Titan onto the board. That's what this deck revolves around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Susan might need to start coming out here just to do a little bit of chump blocking.
Yeah, just get a body in the way.
Yeah. There is Engineer Explosives for 2. And now it will be blown up. There's a Slayer Stronghold, pass the turn back. Nelson going to quickly untap and draw with that Gurmag Angler. Ready to attack yet again. Looks like he's going to start with a Serum Visions, which he will. So he'll draw a card. And now he'll scry 2. Inquisition of Kozilek, I think he may have found, but it may have been a Death Shadow. They do look somewhat similar. Scry 1 to the top, 1 to the bottom for now. And here's the attack for 5. So Haverset's going to fall down to 5. And Nelson simply going to pass the turn back. Haverset will draw. We know he's got a Sousa lost, but Seeking in hand. And this is Ancient Stirrings. As good as this one is, Craig, it doesn't find Primeval Titan.
Nope.
It finds a Gruul Turf.
It can find Teleria West, which transmutes to get a Summoner's Pact. Not in this situation, but there are many situations where Ancient Stirrings can turn into a Titan real quick.
So Gruul Turf's going to come down. Return Kalani Garden. Here's Azusa Lost but Seeking. That's going to resolve. The Garden is going to enter the battlefield tapped, which means it'll now enter the battlefield untapped, and more importantly, it'll bring a 0/1 plant along with it. This is Terminate to take care of Azusa. Brad looking to kill one more creature. That's Fatal Push. That's an attack for 5. And Nelson will get game number 1 done, as Grixis Death Shadow is going to take down Jacob Haverset and his Amulet Titan deck, because he could just never get a Titan on the battlefield, and that's the trick. Don't let that thing resolve.
Brad, it's not like Jacob never saw the cards he needs to get Titan. He drew a Titan and I believe 3 Summoner's Pacts.
Yeah.
And Brad went out after him with a couple of discard spells, a couple of counter spells, backed by some pressure. It's kind of how we said it might go down.
That's how it went down that game. We'll see if things can change, however, here for Jacob Haverset. He's taking a look at the sideboard that he has and also taking a look at Brad Nelson's deck list. So we'll start with Jacob and the 3 Swan Songs, the 2 Dismembers, the 2 Kozilek's Return, the 2 Tireless Tracker, and here come the 1-ofs and Hornet Queen Ghost Quarter, Reclamation Sage, Hornet Nest, Obstinate Baloth, and a Rook Taw, the Unbowed.
This is a tough spot for a lot of these cards. He might want the Swan Songs to fight a couple of the counter spells that Brad has, potentially the discard spells. I can see bringing the Tireless Trackers to play a bit of a longer game. They can get big enough to trade with Brad's creatures and draw him a couple of cards along the way. But most of these other cards don't seem very exciting.
For Nelson, it's 3 Ceremonious Rejection, 2 Collective Brutality, 2 Nihil Spellbound, 2 Surgical Extraction, 2 Summer Denial, along with Liliana, the Last Hope, Kozilek's Return, Is It Static Caster, and Kolaghan's Command. What do we like there?
I can see these Collective Brutalities coming in. We see them come in on all sorts of matchups because they're so versatile. They act as a great duress effect. They can kill the early Tribe Scouts. It's possible that they're only good on the play and they're too slow on the draw. I can see a card like Kolaghan's Command coming in to blow up opposing amulets. But the 2 Stubborn Denials are the standouts.
Well, they were great in the first game. And I imagine they will continue to be great here as well. I think those are the standouts. We'll see how creative Brad opts to get for the second game, as he's currently up 1. But more importantly, we'll see if Jacob can actually put something together that involves a Primeval Titan, since he just wasn't able to get there.
He had all the pieces last game.
Yeah, just couldn't get one to resolve.
Yeah.
So while we get ready here for game number 2, let's talk about the StarCityGames.com newsletter. One last time here this weekend, where you can find Brad Nelson, you can find Ross Merriam, sometimes you can find Craig Krempels, and a whole bunch more, as it's highlights of some of our best articles for the week, upcoming SCG Tour dates and locations, so you can get ready like we did here in Baltimore this weekend. You can find IQs and game nights near you, exclusive cardboard crack comic, and best of all, it's free. And of course, it's your source for Magic the Gathering news. Go.starcitygames.com/newsletter for more information. Sign up today. So get ready here for game number 2 between Amulet Titan and Grixis Death Shadow. I believe Ben Friedman won game number 1 against Reed Dukes. I don't know if we'll be able to jump that way or not. That match might be over before we know it. Remember, Ben beat Reed already once this weekend.
Yep.
So he is one of the problems that Reed has had getting through. Scavenging Ooze and some of the other cards Reed has access to are very good. Grafdigger's Cage, so on and so forth. But Ben has been able to pilot his way through those and a whole bunch more. And we'll see if Ben is able to get one more win over Reed and move on to the finals to play one of these 2 men.
And it feels like a lot of decks, because the metagame is so diverse, they have some hateful cards for graveyard strategies, but they don't have a lot of hateful cards for graveyard strategies. And it's possible that if Ben takes down this event, we're going to see people start having a lot more cards for hateful strategy, for graveyard strategy.
Yeah, I mean, we've looked at a lot of sideboards here this weekend. We've seen 2 of this, 2 of that.
Yep.
2 ley lines, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, 2 Nihil Spellbombs, 2 Surgical Extractions, but no one really packing a lot of hate for Dredge.
Yep.
And I think, in Charlotte 2 weeks from now, when we're there, I think if Ben does win this tournament, even this finish might be good enough where people say, all right, I'm going to move those numbers from 2-2 to 3-3, something like that. In the meantime, as they shuffle, let's learn a little bit more about Brad Nelson, the member of Team Genesis, the 31-year-old from Roanoke, Virginia, with a lot of highlights on this magical circuit. 9 open top 8s. This is actually his 10th, along with 2 wins, looking for his 3rd. He's won here in Baltimore before, and we've seen him win an Invitational in Indianapolis a couple of years ago. That's why you can get that GOAT token of his. He's also got 3 Invitational top 8s, most recently in New Jersey last year. Big StarCraft 2 fan, big Magic fan, really good at golf. And the inaugural Players Champion is Brad Nelson.
How hard is golf, man? It looks so easy on TV. The guys hit the ball, it goes near the cup. They hit it again, it goes into the cup.
Golf is, impossible.
Yeah.
It's basically impossible.
I've played sports a lot of my life, and I'm fairly coordinated and everything. No chance.
Now, I'm awful at golf. My hand-eye's not great. It's just not great. So golf, tennis, ping pong, no.
See, I've played some of these other games.
Yeah?
When I was young, we used to play a lot of ping pong. We had a table in my basement.
Okay.
I had an older brother who just beat me mercilessly at everything I did.
Okay.
So I had to earn it. I had to prove myself. My brother wasn't the older brother who was like, I'll let him win one so he feels good about himself. No, that never happened. Not once.
Good. Good.
So when it came to playing with my friends, there were times when I was too competitive and merciless because that's how I was taught. But these are all things that I did. I played ping pong. When the weather was nice, we used to play badminton in the backyard. I played a lot of basketball, a lot of soccer. Golf is impossible.
I find golf to be very difficult. No argument here. Here's a secure Tribe Scout. Gruel Turf going to be the land, which means Gemstone Mine's going to come back. I just don't even know how you get good at golf. Practice, obviously.
Yeah.
But I would need some sort of coach or something. I just can't even hit a ball.
Hit the ball. That didn't work. All right, hit the ball different. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know what you're asking of me.
Yeah.
Thought C's here from Nelson. Take a look at the hand here again from Jacob Haverset. He wants to read Sakura Tribe Scout, does Nelson. Wants to make sure he knows exactly how it works. Now, there's Summoner's Pact, a Gemstone Mine, a Radiant Fountain, I believe. Might be a Slayer's Stronghold. Either way, it's a land on the far left. On the far right is an Engineered Explosives, and we can't ignore that Explore either.
Yep, the Engineer's Explosives stayed in for Death Shadow.
Yeah, basically that's it.
Yep.
It can kill Snapcaster Mage like we saw in Game 1. That is a Radiant Fountain now confirmed there in Jacob Haverset's hand, but it's mostly just a 1-for-1 trade with Death Shadow. There are times when you might be able to catch 2.
Yep.
But I think those are few and far between. And now I'm curious to see what card Brad wants to take.
I would expect him to take the Summoner's Pact here. Same strategy as last game, just never let him get a Titan onto the board ever. But if Brad's looking at this hand and he feels like Jacob's hand is quite land light, might just take the Explore. Just take the cantrip effect, hope he doesn't draw the lands that he needs. And also, maybe Brad has some Death Shadows in his hand and he's thinking about taking that Engineered Explosives.
Fair enough.
It's all in play.
Well, there goes Pact.
All right. The most likely culprit.
Here's Explorer. Looks like Obstinate Baloth and Azusa have been the past couple of draws here. So there's Radiant Fountain. Jacob's going to gain 2 life. He's going to go up to 22. And then the follow-up is going to be Gemstone Mine. 3 mounting counters will be placed on the land. And now Brad is going to sacrifice a fetch land, go down to at least 14, but maybe more.
It's so funny. It wasn't an accident that Jacob didn't attack. At least I don't think it was an accident.
I don't think it was an accident.
I think he just doesn't want to deal a little bit of damage here and there against the Death Shadow deck.
I think you want to deal it all or none, personally, or as close to all as you can.
Sure. Well, it's easier a little later in the game to tell whether or not this is good damage or bad damage to be dealing.
Yeah, for sure. Here's Blood Crypt.
A little fish.
Could be about that time. Yep. There's Gurmag Angler, pass the turn back. Let's go over to Jacob Haverset, who's now going to try to beat this 5-5 zombie fish again.
Wasn't easy the first time.
Couldn't get it done the first time. Here's a Souza, lost but seeking. All right, that's in. Oof. Nothing past that. Here's Thought Scour. 2 cards into the graveyard. Serum Visions and a Bloodstained Mire. Cycle Street Wraith.
He just had no graveyard last turn.
Yeah, he dredged it all. He delved it all away.
Oh, but 1.
Yeah.
And now he just has 5 or 6 cards in his graveyard again.
Yeah, it's not hard. They should unban Treasure Cruise.
You know what? That one's too good.
Yeah.
We'll just give him dig through time.
Yeah. They should unban one of those blue busted cards.
Oh, dig through time might actually be better?
I mean, might.
All right, we'll ban that one too.
Yeah. Might be. Nelson looking through those 5 cards in his graveyard.
Hey, what's a fun cost reduction ability that we can make up for the next Magic set? I'm sure it won't be a problem.
No, probably not. Probably not. Just going to keep trying until we get it right. Problem is there's no getting it right.
Yeah, they're going to make one that like costs 30 base or something.
Yeah.
It's still going to be like, no, too good.
Yeah. We'll find a way. That's what us Magic players do. In for 5 goes Nelson with the Gurmag Angler. Curious to see what the follow-up is here for Brad. It'll be Thought Scour. Tassiger among those cards. Now he'll pass the turn back. Haverset will draw. At 17 now.
It's really unfortunate that Haverset's draws just haven't, these 2 games, they just haven't done anything for him. He hasn't lost this game yet. There's still time. But just, you're in this spot, and it's just so frustrating. It's like, come on, deck, just give me something to work with. 3 lands? Are you kidding me?
Here's Obstinate Baloth. Which is big, but it's not that big.
Not fish big.
Yeah. Though it is worth noting that Nelson is at 6. So a 4/4 on the battlefield is actually lethal with those other 2 creatures getting in. So Obstinate Baloth's in. Nelson has
Colgan's Command?
Yep. Looks like he might be thinking about getting back Tassiger.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm. And looks like might be killing a Souza, lost but seeking. Yep. So 2 damage to a Souza. Return Tassiger. Keep on moving. In for 5. Haverset down to 16. This is Tassiger the Golden Fang. While Brad figures out how he wants to delve here, we can tell you.
What do you got?
We can tell you that Reed Duke's tournament is officially over as Ben Friedman defeated Reed Duke. Dredge takes down Jund 2-0.
Man, that's too bad.
It is too bad.
For Reed.
Heck of a run with that Jund deck, though, for Reed. We'll say that. For you, another prediction correct.
Yeah, who did I pick in that?
You did pick Ben Friedman.
Oh, I picked Ben Friedman.
You did pick Ben Friedman.
Ah.
I know.
You can put it on the board.
Maybe. Stubborn Denial is going to counter the Ancient Stirrings. And now here's another copy of Asus. But what we know, and at least what Brad knows, is that Jacob doesn't have lands.
Yeah.
Just straight up.
Yep.
Doesn't have them. Tried to resolve stirrings, maybe find a bounce land. Couldn't do that. That's having a real problem. Terminate's going to take care of that Obstinate Bailoff, and now Brad can get real aggressive.
Yeah, just firmly in the driver's seat here.
How about 9?
Just blowing that horn, let meet me.
Yep.
Just boom, rolling right over that Asusa.
The only thing these creatures don't have is trample. I'll tell you what. Asusa's going to stay out here. Sakura Tribe Scout's going to be blocked. Tribe Scout not looking impressive in this match, that's for sure. And now Nelson is going to go towards Death Shadow. We'll head back over to Jacob Haverset. Who's going to try to resolve an Ancient Stirrings. Red mana floating. I don't think Brad's going to let him resolve this one either. We'll see. He's really giving it a thought. I mean, if he's got another Stubborn Denial, he countered the first one. It's not a guarantee that he'll counter the second one, but Brad's pretty good at sensing weakness.
Well, and there's a couple of things in play here. If Jacob doesn't have another land, which we know he doesn't, he's going to have to use that Gemstone Mine to activate the Engineered Explosives.
Which means he'll lose that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's one less land that he has on the next turn.
Yep. The red mana floating allowed him to play the Engineered Explosives for 1. And as you mentioned, in order for him to blow that EE up and not die, he's going to have to lose the Gemstone Mine. So down goes the Death Shadow. Jacob's last card in hand, I believe, is a Primeval Titan. Asusa's going to block. Jacob's going to take 4, go down to 8. It's a draw step.
It's not very often you see a board that looks like that at the end of the game.
Not from Amulet Titan. Just couldn't get anything going all match long as Brad was able to pick him apart with discard, with counter magic, and finally with big creatures. Brad Nelson going to win this match here over Jacob Haverset. 2-0. Grixis Death Shadow is going to take care of Amulet Titan. And those two guys on the same side of the table, Ben Friedman and Brad Nelson, are getting ready for their finals matchup.